John's spacecraft touched down gently on the lush green surface of Zoren, the onboard systems whirring softly as they powered down. Outside, the alien landscape was vibrant, with towering flora that swayed in the gentle breeze and a sky painted in hues of violet and teal. Stepping out of the craft, John was greeted by Rael, the Zoranthian liaison assigned to facilitate his integration during his stay. Rael was tall and slender, his skin a pale blue, with eyes that sparkled with an intelligent curiosity. "Welcome to Zoren, John. I hope your journey was comfortable," Rael said, extending a hand, which John shook, finding the Zoranthian's grip firm yet gentle. "It was, thank you," John replied, looking around. "Your planet is beautiful, much more vivid than the holopics suggested." Rael smiled. "Pictures seldom do justice to the reality of our world. There's much to show you. Your timing is perfect. You've arrived just at the start of our seasonal festival. It's an excellent first glimpse into our culture." As they walked towards the village, a small group of Zoranthians approached. Among them was Kale, a prominent member of the local community. He was robust, with a commanding presence that contrasted with Rael's more reserved demeanor. "Rael tells us you are here to learn about us," Kale said, his voice deep and resonant. "We are equally curious about your people." "I'm here to observe and learn, not interfere," John assured him, keen to make his intentions clear. "Many off-worlders have said the same, yet they often miss the essence of our ways." "We hope you will see beyond the surface," Kale replied, studying John with an unreadable expression. They reached the village, where preparations for the festival were underway. The air was filled with the scents of exotic spices and the sound of melodious local music. John was introduced to various villagers, each more intriguing than the last. "You must join us for the Festival of Bonds," Rael said as they watched villagers decorating large communal spaces with bright fabrics and bioluminescent plants. "It is a time when we strengthen our connections with each other and celebrate the harmony of our community." John was intrigued. "I'd be honored to participate. What does the festival involve?" "It's a series of games and shared tasks, each designed to reinforce the bonds between participants," Rael explained. "It's also a lot of fun." Kale clapped John on the back. "And don't worry, we won't make you compete on your first day. Just observe and enjoy." As the sun set, casting long shadows over the village, the festival began. John was swept up in the celebrations, finding himself participating in group dances and communal meals, where he tried a variety of Zoranthian dishes. Later, sitting around a large fire with Rael, Kale, and a few others, John reflected on his first day. "I've learned so much already," he said genuinely. "Your customs are fascinating." Kale nodded, passing John a drink made from local fruits. "And there is much more to see. But remember, understanding comes not only from watching but also from experiencing. Let the festival teach you." As the fire crackled, the group shared stories of past festivals, their laughter mingling with the crackle of the flames. John felt a deep sense of welcome and anticipation. Little did he know, the next day's events would plunge him deeper into the heart of Zoranthian culture than he could have imagined. The morning sun rose over the village, bathing everything in a warm, golden light. John awoke to the sounds of the village coming alive, the distant hum of conversations blending with the rustle of the tall flora. He met Rael outside his lodging, who greeted him with a bright smile. "Good morning, John. Did you sleep well?" Rael asked as they started walking toward the heart of the village where the festival activities were to continue. "Very well, thank you," John replied, stretching slightly. "What's on the agenda for today?" "Today, you'll witness the core of the Festival of Bonds," Rael explained. "It's not just about fun. It's also about showcasing skills and strengthening community ties." As they reached the village center, John noticed several areas set up for different activities. Kale was already there, overseeing the setup of what looked like an obstacle course. "John, over here," Kale called out, waving them over. "You're just in time to see the first of our bonding games." Approaching the area, John saw several teams lining up, each team made up of villagers of varying ages. "What's this game?" he asked, curiosity piqued. "It's a relay race, but with a twist. Each team must complete tasks that require close cooperation," Kale explained, pointing to stations with different physical and mental challenges. Sounds intriguing, John commented, watching as the first team prepared to start. The whistle blew, and the participants sprang into action, their movements synchronized. As the teams competed, Rail narrated the significance of each task, emphasizing how they mirrored daily life's challenges and the necessity of working together. John was deeply impressed by the seamless teamwork and the community's vibrant spirit. After the race, the trio walked to another area where a large group was gathered for a storytelling session. An elder was recounting tales of Zorantha's history, his voice resonant and full of emotion. These stories are passed down through generations, teaching us the values that hold our society together, Rail said softly, as they listened to a tale about unity and courage. John nodded, completely engrossed. It's remarkable how stories can shape a community's identity, he mused aloud. As the day progressed, John participated in lighter, more social games, guided by Rail and Kale. They laughed and shared personal anecdotes, and John felt himself melding more into the fabric of the community. In the late afternoon, Kale approached John with a more serious demeanor. There's one last part of today's festival that we'd like you to observe. It's a strategic game, traditionally used to teach our young ones about leadership and decision-making. They arrived at a large circular area where a complex board game was set up. The game was intricate, involving multiple players, each tasked with navigating challenges through cooperation and competition. You see, John, Kale began, as they watched the game unfold. This teaches the balance between personal ambition and the good of the group. It's a hard lesson, but a vital one. John was fascinated by the depth of thought behind the game. This is brilliant. The way you integrate life lessons into everyday activities is something we could learn from, he admitted. As the sun began to set, the day's festivities wound down. The villagers gathered for a communal feast, and John was invited to sit with Rail, Kale, and other key community members. They ate, laughed, and shared more stories. John, Rail said as they enjoyed the evening's calm, how do you feel about tomorrow? You'll be more than just an observer. John felt a twinge of excitement mixed with nervousness. I'm looking forward to it. Today has been enlightening, and I'm eager to engage even more closely with your culture. Kale clapped him on the shoulder warmly. We're glad to have you with us, John. Tomorrow, you'll experience firsthand what it means to truly bond with us. As they talked into the night, John realized he was no longer just a visitor on Zoranth. He was becoming a part of their extended community. Tomorrow would be a new day, full of new experiences and, undoubtedly, new challenges. The morning of the festival's final day dawned clear and bright. John met Rail and Kale at the village square where the day's main event was about to start. The air was charged with anticipation, and the villagers gathered in large numbers, their faces bright with excitement. Today's games are different, John, Rail explained as they approached the center where the final challenges were set up. These are not just for fun, but are considered a test of merit among potential leaders and partners. Kale nodded, his expression serious. It's an honor to participate. Usually, it's reserved for those who have trained for years. But seeing how well you've adapted and participated, the council has granted you the opportunity to join. John was taken aback. I appreciate the honor, but are you sure it's appropriate? I don't want to upset any traditions. It's been discussed, Kale assured him. Your involvement has been accepted and welcomed. Think of it as another way to learn about us. As the competition began, John found himself paired with Tail, a young and energetic villager who seemed to know every rule and nuance of the games. They started with a complex puzzle that required both physical dexterity and intellectual acumen. Slide that piece there, then this one goes here, Tail instructed, as they worked together seamlessly. John was impressed by his partner's quick thinking. You're good at this, John commented, fitting a piece into place. Tail laughed. We grow up with these games. They're in our blood. Their successful completion of the puzzle earned them applause from the onlookers. The next task was even more challenging, involving strategy and teamwork to navigate a series of obstacles that required trust and coordination. You need to trust me here, John, Tail said as they approached a particularly difficult section where one had to guide the other blindfolded through a series of markers. Lead the way, John replied, tying the blindfold around his eyes. He listened carefully to Tail's directions, his other senses heightened. They moved together, John relying entirely on Tail's verbal cues. Left a bit, now right, stop, step over, now straight. Tail directed. Cheers erupted as they cleared the section flawlessly. As the day progressed, John felt himself bonding more deeply not only with Tail, but with other villagers who cheered them on. He was surprised by his own competitive spirit, spurred on by the community's enthusiasm. Finally, it came down to the last event, a complex relay involving several team members. John and Tail, along with two others, took their positions. The task required each member to complete a segment based on their strengths, and John's segment involved a combination of problem-solving and agility. You're the final runner, John. Just get through the maze, solve the riddle, and bring the token back, Tail briefed him with a grin. When his turn came, John sprinted into the maze, his mind focused. He navigated the twists and turns, reached the center, and deciphered the riddle quickly. Grabbing the token, he dashed back towards his team. As he emerged from the maze, the crowd burst into cheers. John, panting and exhilarated, handed the token to Tail, who hoisted it high. They had one. Tail approached with a wide smile. Well done, John. Your participation not only honored our traditions, but you've excelled beyond expectations. Rail joined them, clapping John on the back. You've done more than participate today. You've won the respect and hearts of our people. As the sun set, the festival concluded with a grand feast. John was the center of attention, his unexpected victory a topic of lively discussion. Sitting among his new friends, John reflected on the day. I never intended to compete for victory, only understanding, he said to Rail and Kale. And in doing so, you gained both, Kale replied, raising his cup in a toast. To John, who not only joined our games but showed us the strength of unity. John smiled, feeling a deep sense of connection and accomplishment. He had come to learn, but in the process, he had also found a new place among the people of Zoren. His journey was just beginning, and he was eager to see what the future held on this vibrant planet. The morning after the festival, John awoke to find the village unusually quiet. As he stepped outside, he was met by Rail, who appeared slightly uneasy. John, there's something we need to discuss, Rail began, guiding him towards a quiet part of the village. What's going on? John asked, noticing the serious tone in Rail's voice. It's about the outcome of yesterday's games. Winning the competitions during the Festival of Bonds. It has implications you might not be aware of, Rail explained. John furrowed his brows, concerned. Implications? Rail, I thought it was just a friendly competition. In a way, it is, Rail continued. But it's also how we determine strong alliances within the tribe. Winning the games places you in a position of high respect and eligibility for certain commitments. Commitments? John echoed, suddenly wary. Yes. According to our customs, the winner of the games is often sought after for partnership and leadership roles. This includes mating rights, Rail revealed cautiously. John stopped in his tracks, shocked. Wait, mating rights? I didn't sign up for that. I'm just a visitor, an observer. Rail nodded, understanding his distress. I know, and I apologize for not explaining the full cultural significance beforehand. It's a rare honor, and no one anticipated an outsider would win. They walked in silence for a moment before John sighed deeply. What happens now? I mean, I can't possibly take on a role like that. Rail looked thoughtful. Typically, the winner would be approached by those interested in forming a bond. It's a mutual agreement, though. Nothing will be forced upon you. As they approached the council hall, they found Kale waiting for them, alongside several council elders. John greeted them, but his mind raced with thoughts of how to diplomatically decline any offers without offending the tribe. John, we've heard of your concerns, Kale said, stepping forward. We respect your position and your customs as much as we honor ours. One of the elders, an aged man with keen eyes, spoke up. Perhaps there is a way to honor the spirit of your victory without the obligations. You could consider a symbolic role, one that doesn't bind you in the traditional sense. John considered this. I'd like to learn more about what that would entail. The discussion that followed was detailed and thoughtful. The elders proposed that John could serve as an honorary member of the council during his stay, sharing his insights and learning from them, without entering into any personal commitments. Would this role allow me to continue my studies and interactions without the personal implications? John asked, seeking clarity. Absolutely, Cale affirmed. It would be a role of exchange and learning, nothing more. John felt a weight lift from his shoulders. I'm grateful for your understanding and flexibility. I accept this honorary role with the intent to learn from and contribute to your community. The council members nodded in agreement, pleased with the resolution. Rael clapped John on the back, relieved. Let's go share the good news with the village. They'll be eager to hear about our new arrangement. As they walked towards the village center, John felt more at ease. The misunderstanding had opened his eyes further to the complexities of Zoranthian culture. He was here to bridge the gap between their worlds, and now, he had a unique opportunity to do so in a way that respected both their traditions and his boundaries. The new role as an honorary council member brought John closer to the heart of Zoranthian governance and culture. He attended his first council meeting under the guidance of Rael and Cale, who were keen to integrate him into their discussions. As they walked to the council hall, Rael briefed John on the day's agenda. Today, we'll discuss upcoming community projects and the redistribution of tasks among the tribespeople, he explained. John nodded, soaking in every detail. I'm ready to contribute however I can. The council hall was a large, circular room with walls adorned with intricate tapestries depicting Zoranthian history. The elders and council members, all male, were already seated around a central round table. John took a seat next to Cale, who gave him an encouraging nod. As you know, we are honored to welcome John into our council discussions, Cale announced to the room. His unique perspectives as an outsider will enrich our understanding and decision-making. One of the elders, an elder named Vale, turned to John with interest. John, as part of your integration, we would appreciate your insights on resource management. How do your people ensure the equitable distribution of resources? John cleared his throat, feeling the weight of their expectant looks. Well, on Earth, we have various systems, but most strive for a balance through regulatory frameworks that ensure resources are not monopolized by a few. It's imperfect, but the aim is always to manage resources responsibly and sustainably. The council members murmured among themselves, intrigued by the concept. Regulatory frameworks, Vale repeated thoughtfully. And these are agreed upon by all? In theory, yes. In practice, it's more complicated. But dialogue and transparency are key components, John elaborated. Rael then steered the conversation towards practical applications. Could such concepts be adapted here? Perhaps starting with our water distribution efforts. John engaged eagerly, discussing potential strategies and learning from the council members about the nuances of Zoranthian environmental and social needs. The session grew highly collaborative, with John feeling more like a member of the community with each passing moment. After the meeting, Cale and John walked out together. You handled that well, Cale commented. It seems you have a knack for this. John smiled. Thanks, Cale. I'm learning a lot from all of you. It's fascinating to see the parallels and divergences between our cultures. As they continued their walk, they passed by several communal areas where daily activities were in full swing. John suggested they stop and observe some of the workers and craftspeople. Watching a group of artisans at work, John asked Cale about their techniques and materials. This is remarkable craftsmanship. Do these skills get passed down through families, or is there formal training? Both, Cale replied. Most start learning at home, but there are also master artisans who take on apprentices. Maybe you'd like to try your hand at some craft work? John was intrigued. I think I would. Maybe not today, but soon. Their next stop was at the agricultural plots where Tale was overseeing crop rotation practices. Tale greeted them warmly. John, come to see how we manage our fields. Exactly, John responded. I heard about your crop rotation techniques in the council. I'd love to get a closer look. Tale explained the process, showing John the different stages of growth in various plots. Rotation helps us maintain soil health and maximizes yield. Plus, it's a community effort. Everyone plays a part. John nodded, deeply impressed. There's a lot to learn here. I can see the benefits of such a system. As the sun began to set, John, Cale, and Tail headed back to the village center, discussing other aspects of Zoranthian life and how John might further involve himself in their practices. "I think today was incredibly productive," John said, feeling more connected than ever. "I'm looking forward to more hands-on experiences." Kale clapped him on the shoulder. "And we're looking forward to learning more from you, John. It's a mutual exchange, after all." As they parted ways for the evening, John reflected on the day. Each conversation, each shared experience was knitting him closer into the fabric of Zoranthian society, transforming him from an outsider into a trusted member of the community. John spent the next few weeks deepening his integration into the Zoranthian community, participating in various cultural and practical activities. His relationship with the villagers had grown, especially with Kale and Tail, but he found himself increasingly drawn to Lyra, the woman who often assisted him in his cultural education. One evening, as the violet twilight draped itself over the village, John and Lyra walked along a path lined with glowing plants, their light softly illuminating the way. "Lyra, I've been meaning to ask about the Zoranthian family structures," John started, hoping to learn more about her personal life as well. Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the plant's luminescence. "Our families are very connected. We live in large communal dwellings with our extended family until we choose to form a new communal unit with a partner." "Is that a choice that's celebrated here?" John asked, genuinely curious about her views. "Yes, very much so," Lyra responded warmly. "It's about finding a connection that enhances both individuals. We look for a partner who complements us, who challenges us to grow in new ways." Their conversation drifted to more personal territories, and John shared stories of his own family back on Earth. As they talked, the initial formal boundaries of their relationship began to blur into a comfortable familiarity. "John, have you ever thought about connection here? I mean, with someone from Zorinth?" Lyra asked hesitantly. John felt a surge of anticipation mixed with uncertainty. "I've thought about it, yes. It's not something I anticipated, but being here with you, it feels right," he admitted, stopping to face her under a canopy of star-like flowers. Lyra reached out, tentatively taking his hand. "I feel the same, but I want to make sure we understand each other. Our cultures, they're so different." John squeezed her hand gently. "I agree. We should take it one step at a time, learn from each other. Maybe there's a new path we could forge together." As they resumed walking, the mood lightened, and they found themselves laughing and sharing more personal anecdotes. The evening ended with a promise to continue exploring their connection, respecting both their cultural backgrounds. The following day, John discussed his feelings with Kale and Rail, seeking their advice on how to proceed with respect to Zoranthian customs. Kale listened thoughtfully before speaking. "John, it's clear you respect our ways, and you've shown great sensitivity towards our customs. Lyra is well respected here. If you both choose this path, you have our support." Rail added, "Just remember, any union here is as much about the individual as it is about the community. You're not just forming a bond with Lyra, but also deepening your ties with all of us." Encouraged by their support, John spent more time with Lyra, participating in her daily activities and introducing her to more of his own customs. They worked together in the fields, cooked meals using recipes from both their worlds, and even led a community workshop on intercultural understanding. Each shared moment strengthened their bond, and they grew to understand not just each other's words but the silences between them. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset, John turned to Lyra. "Lyra, I feel like I found a part of myself I didn't know was missing. With you, I see not just another world, but a whole new way of seeing." Lyra leaned her head against his shoulder. "And I, in you, see a horizon that beckons with promise and possibility. Maybe, just maybe, we are each other's new horizon." They decided together to take the next step, to honor their bond in a ceremony that would blend their traditions, respecting both their heritages. As they planned for this new chapter, the village buzzed with excitement and approval, eager to witness the union of two cultures through their bond. The day of the ceremony approached, and the entire village was abuzz with preparations. John and Lyra had decided on a unique celebration that would honor both Zoranthian traditions and some of Earth's customs. Kale and Rail were instrumental in organizing the event, ensuring that it respected all cultural nuances. Early in the morning, John met with Kale and Rael at the communal hall to go over the final details. The hall was decorated with an array of Zoranthian and earth flowers, creating a vibrant tapestry of colors and scents. "Everything looks amazing," John remarked, looking around in awe. "We wanted this to be a true blend of both worlds," Rael replied, adjusting a garland. "Your union is a symbol of the harmony we've achieved together." Kale clapped John on the back. "It's more than just a ceremony. It's a milestone for our entire community. We're setting a precedent for how diverse cultures can come together." As they walked through the setup, John noticed various stations that represented different aspects of Zoranthian and human life. "I see you've included the Earth tradition of exchanging rings," he observed, pointing at a small table adorned with intricate jewelry. "Yes, we thought it was a beautiful symbol of your customs," Kale explained. Lyra was quite taken with the idea. The men continued their preparations, discussing the sequence of events. Tale joined them, bringing with him the final element, a traditional Zoranthian musical instrument. "Tale, that's fantastic. Will you play for us?" John asked, intrigued by the instrument's unique design. "Of course," Tale smiled. "Music is the heart of our celebrations. It'll be my honor to contribute to yours." As the afternoon sun began to set, casting long shadows over the village, guests started to gather. Zoranthians and a few of John's colleagues from other planets who had learned about the event came to witness the union. John stood beside Kale, nervously adjusting his attire, a blend of Earth formal wear and Zoranthian decorative fabrics. Kale noticed his anxiety and offered a reassuring smile. "Remember, this is a celebration. Just be present in the moment," Kale advised. The music started, soft and melodious, signaling the beginning of the ceremony. Lyra appeared at the other end of the hall, her dress a stunning mix of her cultural attire and some elements John had described from Earth weddings. The crowd stood in awe as she walked toward John, her smile radiant. As they met in the center of the hall, an elder stepped forward to officiate. "Today, we witness the union of two souls from different worlds, coming together as one," the elder began, his voice echoing through the hall. "May this union be as rich and vibrant as the cultures from which they hail." John and Lyra exchanged vows, promising to honor and cherish each other's heritage. When they exchanged rings, the crowd erupted in applause, moved by the symbolism of the act. After the vows, Tale stepped up to perform. The music filled the room, uplifting and powerful, enhancing the emotional depth of the ceremony. As the official part of the celebration concluded, the feast began. It was an extravagant affair, with dishes from both Zoranthian and Earth cuisines. John and Lyra made it a point to visit each guest, expressing their gratitude for the support. Later, as the guests danced and the night deepened, Rael leaned over to John. "You've started something beautiful today. Not just a marriage, but a bridge between two worlds." John looked over at Lyra, who was laughing with some of the children. "I think we both did. And with everyone's help, it turned out even better than we imagined." Kale joined them, raising his glass. "To John and Lyra, may your life together be as joyful and as full of love as today." The celebration continued into the night, a true blend of worlds, and a testament to the community's acceptance and love for John and Lyra. As the new couple looked out over their friends and family, they knew they had forged not just a personal bond, but a lasting legacy of unity and cultural integration. The morning after the ceremony, the village awoke to a gentle rain, refreshing the land and filling the air with the scent of wet earth and blooming flowers. John and Lyra, now officially partners in both life and culture, stepped out of their new home to greet the day. They were joined by Kale and Rael, who had come to discuss plans for the future. "As newlyweds and now a part of each other's worlds, you have set an example for everyone," Kale began, his voice full of pride. "It's time to think about how you want to continue contributing to our community." John looked at Lyra, squeezing her hand gently. "We've been thinking about that," he said. "We want to be more than just a symbol of unity. We want to be active participants in fostering this cultural exchange." Lyra nodded in agreement. "We plan to start a series of workshops. John can share more about Earth technologies and sciences, and I can teach about Zoranthian agricultural practices and sustainability." "That's an excellent start," Rail responded, clearly pleased. Education and shared knowledge are the seeds of a truly integrated community, Kale suggested, and don't forget about the children. They will benefit immensely from learning about both cultures from an early age. Perhaps Lyra could develop a curriculum? I'd love that, Lyra said, her eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. Children are naturally curious. They can grow up with a broader perspective than any generation before them. As they spoke, Tale joined them, bringing news from the council. The elders are fully supportive of your initiatives. They believe this could lead to more interstellar cooperation and exchanges. John was grateful for the support. I think we're uniquely positioned to bridge not just two cultures, but potentially many. The council's backing will be invaluable. As they continued their discussion, plans began to take shape. The workshops would start locally, but with the potential to expand. John's knowledge of technology and Lyra's expertise in environmental practices could benefit not only Zorinth, but also neighboring planets. The next step is setting up a meeting with the council to outline the project and discuss resources, Kale said, already thinking ahead. We'll need a space for the workshops, materials, and, of course, participants. I'll draft a proposal, John offered. I want to ensure it reflects both our visions. And I will talk to the educators and environmental experts in the village, Lyra added. They'll be crucial in spreading the word and getting everyone engaged. As they planned, the rain stopped and a rainbow arched across the sky, a vibrant display of color against the green landscape. The group stepped outside, taking in the view. It's a new beginning, isn't it? John remarked, looking at the rainbow with a sense of wonder. Indeed, it is, Kale agreed. A beginning that you both created. We created it together, with all of you, John corrected, knowing that their success was built on the support and acceptance of the whole community. The friends shared a quiet moment, watching as the villagers began their day under the clearing skies. Children played in the puddles, and neighbors chatted amiably, a scene of peaceful coexistence. Let's get to work, then, Rail said finally, breaking the silence with a smile. We have a lot to do. John and Lyra nodded, ready to start this new chapter of their lives. As they walked back to their home to prepare for the day's tasks, they felt not just the warmth of the sun, but the warmth of a community that was coming together, inspired by a shared vision of unity and progress. Their life on Zorinth was just beginning, and both were eager to see how their shared journey would unfold, enriching their lives and the lives of those around them with every new day.